it's Stephanie. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching my channel. I'm just so excited that you're here. I have something wonderful to share with you today, and if you would take a moment sometime during this video or at the end, please hit the subscribe button and click on the little bell so you can be notified when I post another video. Today is for my sewing buddies. Sewing buddies, are you there? I want to show you this dress that I made, and something that I think is pretty fabulous. I figured out how, well, I didn't figure out, I learned how to make a pattern fit, because they never fit. I don't know about you, but I buy these patterns and they never fit. Never fit. Before I do that, I want to show the pattern that I used today. It's New Look. It says easy and for knits because I like stretchy knits, and it's $62.98, and it's a multi-size pattern, 10 to 22, so it pretty much fits everybody. Let me just rant. I buy the pattern, and on the back it says sizes. They don't seem to correlate with the sizes in the store, so I know what I wear in the store, right? But I look on here and that's not my measurements, so I measure my body, look on here, and it's way bigger than what I would buy in the store. So then, you know, you make it based on these measurements and you get this huge dress. But it was based on my measurements. Okay, I took a sewing class a couple years ago, and I just really haven't tried the technique that I learned. I made the dress in the class and I love it, but I haven't like come home and put it into use. I just didn't. So I decided to do that, and so bear with me. I am only telling you what I did that is based on the class that I took. So I don't want to say that I did exactly what they told me to do, because I don't remember exactly what they told me to do. So I'm doing what works for me, and this dress turned out perfect. I'm actually wearing it, and I'm going to model it at the end. So if you're not a sewing buddy and you don't want to watch me make a dress, skip to the end and I'll show you two dresses that I made out of the same pattern. But first, I want to tell you this is going to be more about the pattern and less about the dress, because if you can figure out how to do what I just did, you're going to have the perfect fit every single time. So I wrote some of this down so I wouldn't forget to tell you. So I'm just going to tell you the steps, and then I'm going to show you. Okay, so step one, choose the pattern. Then what you want to do is measure your body based on the back of the pattern. Measure whatever it says, bust, waist, and hips. It's usually bust, waist, and hips. Measure your body and write it down. Now, take this pattern and lay it underneath some pattern paper. I'm going to put a link to the pattern paper I bought that was recommended by my class, and I actually have it hanging here in my basement sewing room. It's huge. This big roll of paper is probably going to last my whole life. That's how much it is. But this paper is awesome. So you actually lay the pattern down first and the paper on top, and then you're going to trace all of your pattern onto the paper. So now your paper becomes the pattern, and the pattern gets put back in the envelope. The other thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you're on a light colored surface. I was using my table that's back here that you've seen me use. It's brown. I want to paint that white so bad, because white is so much easier to do this tracing. A lot of light and some good pencils. I'll show you all of this. So then you look and you compare the measurements that match my body. I'm going to show you in practice. And then you trace to your unique size. Maybe your bust is one size, your waist is another, and your hips are another. You could do that. You could just draw these lines and merge them. And that merging and making this pattern more than one size is how you get your perfect fit, or at least you start on that. So you trace, I'm going to show you the whole thing, trace your pattern onto the paper, you cut out your fabric, you actually make the garment or make part of it. Like all I did was put the basic body together. I didn't put the sleeves in or anything, and then I tried it on. It didn't fit perfect. It was close, but it didn't fit perfect. I took up a little here and a little there, and once I took it up and made it fit me, I took that garment back to the paper, transferred it to the paper, made the paper fit the finished piece. So now my garment has been fitted and my fittedness has been transferred to the paper. Now I can use that paper to make another dress. And so that's what I did. So it took me a couple days to draft this pattern onto the paper, to do all the altering, to make this dress, to go through all my boo-boos, figuring it out. And the second time I made this dress, it took me a couple hours. It was fast. Maybe closer to 3, but it was still like so easy. I knew exactly what to do. And when I make it again, if I decide to, I don't want too many of the same dress, but if I decide to make this again, it's going to fit. It's going to fit perfect. What if I changed size? What if I lost a bunch of weight or gained a bunch of weight? This pattern didn't get cut. I could just draw another one. So let me just show you the process. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. This part might be long, but if you want to follow along and get the result I did, it will be worth it. And then when I make future garments, I'm going to revert back to this one and tell you to watch this one and figure out how to make the pattern, make your own pattern out of a pattern. Does that make sense? It's just so cool. It's so cool. Okay, let's do it. So I have my pattern. I looked at the front and I'm going to do a view C. So now I'm looking at the instructions and I'm going to choose the pieces that I need for view C. So you just kind of look and they'll tell you view C has 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, those are my pieces. So I have my paper on my table and actually my pattern will go underneath it. And I'm going to take one of these lights and point it right down so that it helps me see the lines that I'm going to be tracing. I'm going to be using a black pencil, but I have a box of colored pencils. So as I make alterations to my pattern, once I make the dress, I will change the colors so that I know which ones were the new lines. Some of the things, I just have a couple of rulers. I have a long one. This one is 18 inches. This one's your normal 12. And then I have something called French curves. And you can get them at the same place you get the paper, or Joann's probably has them, or Michael's. And it's just these little curvy things. So when you're trying to do a curve and you don't have a good freehand like me, I can't draw a stick figure, let alone a circle, a good one. So I use the little curves to help follow the lines, and then my paper cutting scissors so that I can cut paper when I need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one pattern piece at a time, and I'm going to cut out the paper for it so that I'm only really dealing with a smaller piece of paper than trying to deal with this big piece of paper the whole time. When it's right side up, it's a little darker. And you know, it's got a few wrinkles. I want this to be a perfect pattern. So I'm going to go over to my ironing board and I'm going to iron this pattern piece so that I don't have any wrinkles to deal with and I get really nice straight lines. The other thing I'm going to do is I have my measurements written down, and I just do bust, waist, and hips. Mostly that's what you're going to need. And I'm going to double check to see where my bust line, waistline, and hips, this is kind of a dress, so it doesn't really need waist and hips. Really, if the bust matches, the dress should fit me. And I'm going to be altering it anyway. So I'm going to check to see not what size I think I am. I'm going to see what size my bust matches, so that this dress will fit me. Does that make sense? And that's where we'll start. Okay, so let me go iron this. I'll be right back. Okay, so this pattern piece is going underneath. Okay, so I can see my pattern piece is completely underneath the paper, so I'm going to pin it so that it stays in place. Okay, I can barely see these lines. And I'm going to get my light that's just like this one, and I'm going to point it straight down, and that will help me see a little bit better. So I just wanted to say that when I measured I said I was going to measure my bust and choose my size. I was in between two sizes, so I picked the larger size because too big is always better than too little. When you're sewing, you can take it up. So I want to make this, I would rather make this a little too big, and then I'll alter it, and then I'll fix my pattern to be just right. Perfect. There's a notch right here. I'm going to draw that in. Any markings, you want to draw every single marking. Little dots, markings for the waistline, the bust line. Copy this pattern, every little thing except all the sizes. Just do the one size. Other than that, you want to write the name of the pattern, the number of the pattern piece, how many to cut. Transfer everything, because this is going to become your new pattern. So I'm going to finish drawing this, and then I'm going to show you the result. This is only the second time I've actually done this, and so I wanted to give you a couple of tips I came up with. One, eraser. I just wrote a couple things wrong. Eraser. And as much as I love these rulers and everything, and as bad as I am at drawing anything, I found it easier to just freehand it, mostly. If it got too tricky, I would use one of these tools, but freehanding it worked the best. Now, when I needed to get the information on the inside, I didn't want to shift the pattern. It doesn't take much to shift it, and then all the lines are off. So what I did was, I just kept moving my pins. So when I wanted to get to this area, I moved these pins down and kind of just kept it all solid. Does this make sense? Then I could fold it up a little and kind of see what it said. And then I knew what it said. It was easier to trace. So new look 6298, numbers pattern piece 6. It's the front on C and D, cut one on the fold. Got my little center fold mark. So there's my pocket. Again, I'm only cutting out things that are marked for my size. So just thought I would stop and share a couple of things that I kind of discovered along the way. Okay, I'm ready to lay out my fabric, but before I do, I wanted to show you something. So this is made for stretchy knits. It says just for knits right here next to the easy. There's a pick a knit rule right here on the pattern. So we're going to hold it right here because it says it must go from here to here, here to here, here to here. See, it stretches. So that's how you know it's stretchy enough. Because some fabrics say they're stretchy, but they're not stretchy enough. This is a soft kind of t-shirt knit, I would call it. But it's just so soft. Okay, so I'm going to lay this out and I'm going to put my pattern pieces on it. It's all pinned. I'm ready to cut. I took my ruler to make sure that I matched the grain lines. So you have these that are for the grain, and so you want to make sure that you're straight so you're not wonky on your fabric. I've done that before and it's just wrong. So here we go. Okay, so I have followed the instructions for the pockets, and it said turn upper edge of pocket to outside along fold line. I did that, forming the facing. Stitch along seam line on long edge with large dot and lower edge. So that's the long edge with the dot was right here, and this edge. And I used, again, the stretch stitch. Then it says to trim the seam allowance, and what it has is a little picture where it blows it up, and it says to just trim right there. Not the whole thing, just right there. Okay, so I did that on both of them. And then what it wants to do is turn it right side out, turn the facing to the wrong side, pressing under raw edges under along stitching. Stitch facing 1/4 inch from raw edge and 1/4 inch from first stitching. So it wants me to turn this and then sew 2 lines of stitching 1/4 inch from the top. And then I'm supposed to turn these, not sew them or anything, just iron them. Just there and there right along the stitch line. So I'm going to put the pocket on the front, but before I do, I want to transfer this line onto my fabric so I can see where the pocket's going to be placed. And normally I think you're supposed to mark it on the wrong side of the fabric, but since the pocket's going on top of it, I figured I would just put it on the front side so I could see it really well. So underneath here I have a piece of this tracing paper. I think that's what it's called. I'll look at it, see. And then I'm using this wheel to a pressing card because I'm going to the bottom layer right now. I'm back and both my pockets are on. Next step, right sides together, stitch back at center back seam. So we're not doing the front right now, we're doing the back. So what I need to do is put the right sides together. Now the center back seam I can see on the picture is the long side, the longest side. So that's the one with the 3 notches. And so I'm going to match that. So I'm going to pin this, I'll be right back, and I'm going to pin it and sew it. Okay, my back center seam is stitched, and I was going to serge it, but I realized I haven't ever made this pattern before, so I may want to alter it. So I'm not going to serge this until I have the shoulder seams and all the side seams so I can slip it on and see if I want to take it in, because if I take it in, all that serging will be a mess to deal with. So no, not going to do that. Next step, we are going to take right sides together, stitch front to back at side seams. I'm going to try it on without the sleeves, because this is that, I don't know, what do you call that, where the sleeves come in at an angle? There's probably a name for that, but I won't be able to just sew up the tops because the sleeve is part of the top. It's actually part of the top. So I'm just going to try it on once I get the side seams done and just see, is this super huge? Does it fit good? Because if it fits well, then I'll serge and then I'll do the sleeves. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's pin these together. So I'm just going to sew those 2 side seams, and it's starting to look like a dress. It looks like a tiny bit too big. And if it is, I'm going to alter it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it on with some pins. And I won't be able to show you because it'll be like no top to this dress. It'll just be, I'll just be holding it from here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on inside out. And I'm just going to see if it's really big right here. See, like this dress fits all the way around right here. That's what I want with this dress. So if this dress has any give right here, I'll just pin it, and then I will take that amount all the way down. And I'll take some in the back seam too, so it's not all just taking up my pockets. So I'm just going to pin it and see how much smaller it needs to be. It just looks really big. So I did decide to show you how I have it pinned, because I pinned it to my bra straps in the front and the back. That was kind of hard being by myself, but it was too loose on the side. So I pinned it up where I think I would want it to be, like right here. And right here, it's not perfect. I just sort of pinned what I thought. And then I'm going to lay it out and try to find, straighten it out a little bit. And then make this dress just a little bit smaller on the sides. And I think it'll be perfect. It's so little, but it's just it was just too floppy. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but it's certainly not straight. It's all messy and puckery, but I get the idea of where I want these seams to be instead. And they're fine from the waist down. It's just right at the bust that I marked these pins. So that's the place I'm going to alter it. Now, one of the things I want to do is just sort of measure how far in did I come on this side. I came in right around just a little over a half an inch, but not 3/4, but just a little over a half. No, 3/4. Let's say 3/4. And then right here, it's also 3/4. And then right here, nothing. So let's see what this one looks like. This one is closer to an inch. And this one is an inch. And this one is 3/4. So it looks to me like if I took it up a 3/4 of an inch on each side, that would be fine. Or I could take it a half an inch on each side and a half an inch on the back, and that would equal the same, and then it wouldn't all come from the sides. I could also kind of take some of that bulk out of the back. Can I see the waistline on this? Yes. So I see the waistline right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redraft my pattern. Added a half an inch to the waistline, and then I just took my ruler and kind of just evened it out. And I'm going to lay this on top of my front, and I'm going to match it so they're the same side seams, because these are the side seams. They need to match. And then the back seam, I'm taking also a half an inch, so it's a straight line. So I'm just going to take that all the way down. But let me just show you how I do that. So you see my blue line? That's my new pattern. And I just evened it in. Hard to see if you can see that. I'll do a cell phone picture. There's the new line in blue. There's the waistline. And then I just evened it out. Now, I need to match this notch, so let's move that too. Okay, half an inch. Okay, so now I have the front and the back pinned together, and this side is my front and with all my markings. So what I'm going to do, so I have some scrap paper just sitting up there. I don't want to put anything on top of that shelf that has any weight to it. So I just put my scrap paper up there, and so I have a piece of scrap paper I'm going to put underneath. Are you following me? You know where I'm going, don't you? Then I'm going to put this tape, this tracing paper right underneath my marking. And then I'm going to use that tracing wheel and I'm going to mark it. There, it's kind of faint, but it's there. So now just take my same pencil and I'll mark that permanently with that pencil right here. Okay, and then I want to make that same little notch, and that is now marked. So the next time I sew this pattern, I know that's my cutting line. In fact, I can trim it right now because this is the goal of this whole project, is to get this. And once that dress is perfect, and I've worn it a few times, this is going to be an easy dress to make again and again and again. And for that, I'm going to use yellow because it shows up really good on this black. So this is my front, and I need this to be turned over to be able to mark it. Now I don't want to pin it right here because I want to be able to get my roller going. So I'm just going to pin it right here just so it doesn't slide around. Okay, my front pieces are done. Let's do my back. So I'm going to move it over, move these over, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next step. My pattern is now altered to fit. All my knee seams are done, and now I'm going to serge the sides and the back. And if you don't have a serger, what you could do is just trim it down. This kind of fabric doesn't unravel anyway, so you don't really need to do anything if you don't want to. I got all my seams serged, and I'm super happy. I feel so blessed to have a serger, and if you want to see the one I got, I did not go for a super expensive serger. I just got something inexpensive that matches my sewing machine. So if you want to look, I have an unboxing of my sewing machine and an unboxing of my serger, and it's like a couple years ago, so I've been using it all that time, and I would still endorse it. Basically, I mean, I don't get any credit for endorsing it, but I would just say if you're looking for a machine, I'm happy with both of those. Very. Okay. Enough said. I am done with these two pieces, so I'm going to set them over here for now. Set them with my spare paper because I want to get to the next step. This is my dart for my sleeve, so I'm going to mark that right now. With right sides together, stitch under arm seam, press up seam allowance, stitch or zigzag from raw edge below first. So they want me to machine hem it basically. So I am going to sew these two seams and serge them. And then I'm going to turn up my hem and sew it just like they said with the sewing. Turn sleeve right side out. Already did that. Hold garment wrong side out with armhole toward you. Wrong side out, armhole toward me. Now it will be clear which one is which because the notches will line up. Pin sleeve to armhole edge, matching under arm seams. Stitch and stitch again from first stitching. Trim seam below notches close to stitching. So you're going to stitch it twice. I'm so ready for this to be done. Okay, so I sewed up my sleeves and I serged them. So all the inside is now serged. Right sides together, stitch center back seam of neck band. Fold band in half lengthwise with wrong sides together. Press and pin. Okay, and then we're going to pin it to the garment. Then we're going to stitch it. Okay, I sewed my neck on. I did not do 2 lines of stitching like it said. I did a serge, so that became my second line of stitching. And now what I'm going to do is the last step on the neck, which is to turn it, and I'm going to press it this way with an iron, and then I'm to come in and stitch really close to kind of catch this and hold it down. So when you're wearing it, it's nice and flat. So I'm going to iron it, and then I'm going to stitch, top stitch right below my seam and catch that underneath, and it's just going to be lay nice and flat that way. The next thing I have to do is try it on, choose a hemline, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to serge the hemline, and then I'm going to turn it under and machine stitch a hemline for this. Oh, it looks so good and it fits perfect. Ugh, you're going to love this dress. Okay, so what I did is I pinned where I think I want it, but I'm not going to trust that until I pin the whole thing and put it on again, because I am the queen of cutting things too short. OMG, this is going to be my new favorite dress, I can tell you right now. So that was perfect. That hemline was perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to add an extra inch. That'll give me room to serge it and turn it, and that should be perfect. And then I'm also going to mark my pattern. My hem is all serged, and now I'm going to pin it so that I don't get all puckery. I'm just going to go up very small, ½ inch. I don't know why. I feel like hurrying. I'm just so excited. So it's all pinned. My hem is all pinned. After I do this step, all I have left is to wear it. Okay, so I took you through the whole process and showed you everything that I did to make this pattern fit me. And I want to show you the 2 dresses that came out of this process. The first one is the one I'm wearing, and let me show you that one. And the other one I made out of a different color. It's the same kind of fabric, stretchy knit, and it's green. Oh, it's so cute. Didn't they turn out great? Like, I'm so happy, and I got pockets. I think I want to put pockets on everything. So now that I've shown you the process, go out and make a dress or something and have fun. And again, please hit the subscribe button, click the little bell, and I'll see you next time in the next video. I also have some videos coming up on my glamper and some fashion. So for my sewing fashion glamper buddies, stay tuned. More coming.